you're on a train, take a look out the window at the overhead line structures, you know, those pylon thingies that hold up the wires. Because with the arrival of more high-speed rail links and the electrification of existing lines, we're going to be seeing far more of these structures punctuating the countryside and possibly popping up at the bottom of your garden. So, does it matter what they look like? There's an architectural competition currently being held to design aesthetically pleasing gantry for the rail network. There's a short list of 10 designs, 4 of which will be chosen, and you can see pictures on the FrontRow website. To discuss the contenders and assess their form over function, I'm joined by the Sunday Times architecture critic Hugh Pearman. Hugh, first of all, is this something new, holding a competition for overhead fixings on railways?
It is completely new. They have had competitions in the past to do electricity pylons, for instance. But yeah, normally these things would just have been churned out by engineers in the past. Now you do still have engineers, but you also get designers, architects and so forth. So it's a step forward, I would say.
Now, they've all got rather endearing names: Tomahawk, Tuning Fork, Origami Birds, High Speed Tea and so on. Which are your 4 favourites, would you say?
Well, I will have to say I don't have 4 favourites, but there are 3 types they've got here. There's a sort which is like a T-bar standing in the middle of the track. There's a sort which like curves over from the sides like lampposts do. And there's a sort which I call needles and cat's cradles of wires, and I like the needle ones. Grimshaw has done a good one. He's called Tuning Fork. There are 2 or 3 others in that mould. So in other words, they're as minimalist as they could possibly be, and they depend on the sort of the wires doing most of the work.
So clearly being unobtrusive is part of the idea.
It's functionally minimalist. How low impact can you make something which has got to basically make the whole railway work? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, my favourite actually is the most minimalist of all, which is called bow, which is literally just sort of like the curve of a lamppost, and you can barely see. I mean, it's very, very simple.
It is. That's the sort which arches over from the side of the track, and that's okay. But don't forget, they can mix and match these. They're going to choose up to 4, which they can use in different places.
Right, because of course there's the electrification going on many railway lines, and HS2 and so on. So different ones for different lines. I guess.
Midland Main Line, Great Western, all these things. They'll be able to sort of pick and choose. That's, I think, the idea, assuming they get them sort of in production in time.
Now, one of the most interesting ones I think is called Origami Birds, and from the picture, the reason why it's called that is not because it looks like an origami bird, but because the shadow that it casts looks like a bird. But so that's the only one that passengers will be able to enjoy when they look out of the window, because most of these structures won't be seen by people on the trains themselves, will they?
You're flashing along now. A lot of it is actually to make more appealing or less unappealing to people like those who are resisting high-speed 2 railway line. Look, we can make it beautiful and graceful and elegant, and don't worry, it's going to be quite nice, really. It's not going to be horrible, lumpy girders.
Well, which is right, isn't it? Because this is all over our countryside.
It is, and it's expanding. And until the only example in the recent past I can think is when they did the East Coast line, they just put up the usual girders. But where the line curves on a marvellous viaduct through Durham, there they did something slightly special. They designed it specially. Here they're saying, why don't we do the whole lines instead of just in special places?
And presumably this is made possible as well, that the minimalist design is made possible by new materials and technology.
To some extent, and I noticed that it's not just declaring winners here. The winners, all of the 4, will get £150,000 of development money to make sure that they actually will work and are actually as cutting edge as they can be.
Be interesting to see who wins. Hugh Pearman, thank you very much. And the 10 shortlisted entries are on the FrontRow website, and the Aesthetic Overhead Line Structures exhibition is at the National Railway Museum until the 12th of May.